Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio, and I'm here with my friend and co-author and colleague Nancy Saxton-Lopez. And this is a broadcast that we do live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is a way to extend the reach of the work that we did for many years, decades, in fact, and particularly in Nancy's case, facilitating pet loss support groups, and we compiled what we learned through that experience into a book. It's called The Pet Loss Companion: Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And now, through the medium of broadcast opportunities, I'm not saying that correctly, but in any case, we are able to do this broadcast as a video cast, and also it appears on a number of audio podcast outlets, including Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music and Audible. And so this is an opportunity for us to share with you. And as you'll see, we like very much for you to share with us. So we are going to share some stories that we've received from audience members this evening, because we think that that just offers such richness. And so we encourage you to get in touch with us and share your stories. You can reach me at kenddv@gmail.com. You can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez. That's nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. And you can also leave us a voicemail by a link that is part of the description. And that would be great too. We haven't received voicemails yet. If we get your voicemail and you give us permission explicitly in your voicemail, and I'll say this also about your communications through emails, we will likely read part of your story if we have time in the broadcast. And if not, we'll respond to you via email. And you also can support our program through a Venmo, one-time donation, or a PayPal. You can also subscribe if you so desire. All of that information is attached in the description. We like to let you know as well that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society, which is in Springfield, Massachusetts. Dakin is a 501c3 community-supported animal welfare organization. They provide a range of services that include shelter and medical care and spay-neuter services and behavioral rehab for more than 20,000 animals and people each year. Since opening in 1969, Dakin has become one of the most recognized nonprofit organizations in Central Mass and a national leader in animal welfare. You can learn more about Dakin and make a donation at dakinhumane.org. You can also RSVP on that site for the monthly pet loss support group that I facilitate. And we're actually going to start doing that in June via Zoom, because we feel like we can probably reach an even broader group of people if we do it that way. So look for that on the Dakin site as well. And I think that that's it for the intro. Am I right, Nancy?
Yes, it's good. Ken and I started to really think about what we're going to present tonight after we got a very heartbreaking story from someone who decided or has not let us know that we can share it. But it has to do with different types of animals, right?
Yeah.
So we started to think about what happens when on a farm, right? So people have chickens on a farm. Ken, I know you have chickens in your house.
Not in my
not
house.
in the house. All right, outside the house. Okay, in their house.
No. In their house. They have a nice house.
But pigs, sheep, cows. I mean, I've seen TikToks with people, loving their donkeys and kissing their cows, and
Thing
horses,
like a donkey.
and all birds. Some people, raise birds, parents, right?
We've
And
had birds,
so,
you and I.
yes, we had the Henrys, right?
Yeah.
2 Henrys, right? Cockatiels.
Yep.
But they're just as important to these people who will grieve very, very much so after a death. or after an illness. And so we wanted to shout out to these people, right? Because usually we talk about dogs and cats. We have mentioned a horse, I think, at times. We did have a bunny. We did have and we had somebody at the group who was grieving their fish. I mean, people love their geckos and their bearded dragons and their
And
snakes.
they're
I mean,
tortoises.
yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's interesting because when I went up online, I thought, well, let's look at this, right?
Mhm.
And so I found a website called Farm Girl Fair, Fare, and she talked about their sheep, right? They
Mhm.
had many sheep, and wherever they are, I'm not sure where. She said, I'm going to quote a little bit of this. Last April, I told you about the pair of coyotes that had killed one of our sheep out in the hayfield. I mentioned that the killing hadn't stopped, but I never wrote any more about it. But what happened was that over the next 7 months, we lost 11 more sheep. And it was she's heartbroken, right? Um, you get attached to these animals.
You sure do, and people who have chickens will sometimes lose them to hawks or foxes or coyotes. Coyotes are everywhere, and I can tell you that I'm working toward having llamas, and one of the reasons that I wanted to have llamas and not alpaca is that llamas are apparently well equipped to fight off
Oh,
coyotes, and also I want to make sure that I have adequate fencing with an electrical topper so that it's unlikely that a coyote would try to get into the fenced area. But you've got to be very mindful of the
very
fact that
careful.
predators are pretty much everywhere, and particularly coyotes, because they're even in the most populated areas
We've had
that we live in.
coyotes, and we had a bear last week in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is very populated.
Yeah.
And and coyotes have come down, in some areas around here and taken dogs, right,
Yeah.
little dogs
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
out of their lawns.
I think a coyote took one of my barn cats, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so when this woman was talking about her sheep, what they did is they got I got Great Pyrenees, I guess, are the dogs.
Yeah, they're protective dogs for all kinds of animals, and I have a friend who has Great Pyrenees, has 2 of them actually, and he has all kinds of animals. He has all kinds of fowl. He has ducks and chickens and geese, and he has emu, and
And
he
but the
has
dogs
he
are
has a little
all right.
pot-bellied pig, and I can't even keep up because I think he's gotten
Well, and
now
how wonderful is
a
that that
baby
he loves
bull and a
loves
Scottish
all of them.
steer, and but yeah, it's very important in making sure that your animals are safe. And Pyrenees they've been bred over a very long time, centuries, to be protective of sheep and goats, and they bond with the herd, and
Yeah,
they are not
they
to be
become yeah.
messed with. In fact, this friend of mine told me that his Pyrenees came back one day with a coyote in its jaws.
Whoa,
I mean, they're big
big
dog.
dogs.
Yeah.
Well, and in this story, that she got 2 Pyrenees, and then one got sick and died. So here, they've lost all of these sheep that they were very attached to, all the little lambs and the sheep, and then they lost one of their dogs. And so when you have those multiple losses, right? Because this
Mhm.
was the story we got, that not only were some of the birds she had, died, and that sometimes that is from disease, but also one of her cats died, and
Mhm.
then there was a dog that was. I mean, so no, I mean that's so incredibly devastating.
Well, Nancy, I belong to a Facebook group called Raising Chickens, and many of us are passionately connected to our chickens. So people post all kinds of images and videos, and they're holding them, and they're talking about how they're doing. And as you mentioned, we got an email from a person who had a flock of 5. They were her pets, and 3 of them ultimately died from a disease that was causing them to be just riddled with tumors.
Oh,
And it wasn't avian flu, which is a real issue right now in
right.
many places in the US, particularly it's here in the Eastern Seaboard. It's something that we in Massachusetts have to be very cognizant of. And so people are very, very close to their chickens. And as I've mentioned, I mean, chickens are worthy of our high regard.
Yes, they are.
They care, they know who we are. They have very distinct personalities. They can be very loving and they can be very standoffish. They are individuals,
They're individualists, right?
as we all are. And
But
so
I
when
mean,
we lose them, we lose a friend.
exactly.
We lose a friend.
And that's the point, right? It's not just a dog or a cat, which is obviously a lot of the population of pets, but it could be a snake. It could, and pigs. People love their pigs, and
People love
pigs
their
live in the
pigs.
house.
Yeah, some people have their pigs in the house. They're very smart, and some people have tortoises, and tortoises
Yes,
will live for longer than we'll live. And people have parrots who, if you get a parrot and you're into your adulthood, that depending on the variety of parrot you get or the macaw you get, you're going to have a legacy plan for them because they're likely
right,
to outlive you. And when you have a pet that is that has that kind of a lifespan, and you are going to build such an intense bond with, and then you lose them, that is just as devastating as
exactly.
any other loss that you may have in your family, whether it's a human family member or another kind of animal companion.
Well, as we all know, and how we have worked with companion animal loss for years, it's the relationship you grieve.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't matter how many legs or no legs or whatever it is, that it's the relationship that you have with
Hmm.
that being,
Yep.
that the
They can
bird
they
or
can
the reptile or, the mammal.
they can mean the world to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of young people have ferrets or they have mice or they have rats, right? And
I had a rat when I was in
that's
college.
right,
I had a rat. I had a chinchilla. I've had rabbits. I've had, you know,
you know? And or maybe even a possums. I'm thinking about possums recently. I don't know why. But but yeah, or tarantulas, right? Some people
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
exotic pets.
Or those little hedgehogs, the little
Yes.
tiny
My
hedge.
client had a hedgehog. She brought a hedgehog and it was so
Very
sweet.
cute.
But we just wanted to make sure that we include everyone who has
Yep.
any kind of wonderful relationship with whatever being that is,
And
because when they die, it's just like you said, devastating.
and it's important if you are some people might really be understanding about the loss of a dog or a cat or horse. I mean, these are relationships that anybody who loves animals is going to really understand and be empathic regarding. It's important to widen that circle of compassion if your friend
Yeah.
tells you that their iguana died or their little hedgehog died or
Or
what.
they're angelfish,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or their
I mean,
Oscar.
I had
Yeah,
angelfish and they got to be so large and they were so beautiful and something went wrong with the heater in the tank and I watched them die together. And it was so I mean, I know you can't touch a fish, but it was so sad,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because they still are living things.
Yep, yep. So we gotta
So,
we gotta keep the circle of compassion very, very wide open.
so again, we just wanted to we appreciate the person who sent her heartbreaking, amazing story to us. But,
And the video was very nice too.
yes, the videos
Video of her
and the
cuddling her
pictures.
chicken and the
Yes,
pictures of her dogs.
it was one thank you. But, we do you wanna talk about Simba's mom?
Sure. So we got a note from Sotida, and I hope I'm saying her name right. And she had a very young cat who she had adopted and was totally in love with, as most people are with their kittens. And she tried to make sure that she did everything she could to keep her cat well. And she happened to give her cat a bath. And shortly after she gave her cat a bath, the cat
Mhm.
died.
Yeah, right.
And they don't know why. And the first thing I want to say to Sodita, if I'm saying her name right, and I won't say that again, but I just
I
want to
know.
make an
Wanna make
apology,
sure
a
that we're
preemptive apology,
right.
that a preemptive apology, that she didn't kill her cat.
No,
Her cat did not die because she had a
no,
bath. That is absolutely not what happened. And so the cat was fine right after the bath and seemed to be fine for a while thereafter. And so she and her family are guessing that maybe this cat had a cardiac event and or something like that, a stroke. I don't know. But the main thing that I just can't stress enough is no cat dies because it just had a bath.
no,
It
or
doesn't
at
work
all,
that way.
anybody.
Yeah,
Nobody
you
dies
don't die
because
because we've had a bath. Even if the bath is stressful, it's just not. It is so far outside the realm of possibility.
right.
And this was a young cat that
Yes,
that
I mean,
would
he
be,
was 2 no, less than 2 how old was
yeah,
this cat? Simba was
5 months
young.
old when he was adopted. And so, and that was in September of 2021. So maybe what, about, I don't know, 6 months, 7, 8
Yeah,
months?
he was now
If I could do math, I'd know.
that to me sounds like genetic issue,
Yeah, and
you know?
so something went wrong, but it wasn't her fault. I
No.
just really want her to understand. Now she also has now adopted 2 kittens, and so she has new cats in her life, but she's still grieving, and that's the way it is, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're gonna be a positive distraction, but this is the kind of thing that unfortunately, she'll probably think about on and off for a long time, because I would be the same way. If I had a cat and I loved that animal very much and I gave it a bath and shortly thereafter it died, I would keep thinking that probably something about that bath experience. And I
Well,
would
right, it
also,
could
and
happen
I would,
again.
and I know that other people would be saying to me, no, that's not why your cat died. But it would be hard to shake that for a while. And eventually, it would dawn on me that giving a cat a bath, giving any animal a bath is not something
It's
that is
not gonna
going to
harm.
result in its death. And there's something else that had to happen thereafter
Yes.
in that next half hour or whatever.
But you would also be hyper vigilant, right, about that?
Yeah. Yep.
So and you would
Yep.
be very cautious about not giving her other 2 cats probably a bath for
I
a
would
while,
probably not
if at
give
all.
my cat a bath again
Right, and
because
so but
because I'd be worried about
understandable,
that.
right?
But
Because it was
that would be what what do you call that when that would be a superstitious belief
yeah.
that yeah,
But the other thing with her is that, she was a little guilty about bringing those 2 kittens in, right? But
yeah,
she worked that out, she
yeah.
said, she was grieving for Simba, but she realized that it was okay that he would have wanted to have her bring 2
It's
new
it's
kittens.
the it's a testament
Yeah, right.
to
Exactly.
that lost relationship to bring new life into the family, to bring new animal companions in. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes people will decide for a variety of reasons that it's not the right time or they don't want to do it, but it's always a testament to what a loving connection you had with your lost friend.
Yeah, of course. So we have time. I'm gonna talk about Susan now.
Mhm.
Susan with Tupelo. And Tupelo was a very old, beautiful, I think she was, it's a she, Chihuahua. And I'm going to read her note to us. Dear Ken and Nancy, first I want to say thank you for your podcast on losing and grieving a pet. My little girl was 15, blind and deaf, and it happened all of a sudden. She was a long-haired Chihuahua and the most precious thing I ever had. I'm struggling with the fact that I tried so hard to take care of her and being alone trying to do it. I had lost my job and my funds were running out. She went blind in August of 2021 and deaf the following month. She was so scared, and I took her everywhere I went, including my little job I had. I bought a special sling to carry her in and took her everywhere. She just wanted to be with me. They allowed me to bring her into my office because she was so helpless. It was killing me to see her suffer so much. I could never leave her alone, and if I did, she would bark constantly until she could smell me or feel my touch. That's like my Jackie right now, 16. He had lost interest in many things. She had lost interest in many things after her blindness, and then really lost interest when she went deaf. Then last week, she wouldn't drink or eat much. I knew it was time. It is just about killing me. I feel so sad. I am alone and feel so alone now. I have friends and they have helped me, but it doesn't help me at night. I slept with my little dog every night. I just wanted to share my story. Um, and she had and her missed her touch. She had lost interest in many things after her blindness, and then really lost interest. Oh, I'm sorry, when she went deaf. I screenshotted this. I apologize. Then last week she wouldn't drink or eat much. I knew it was time. It's just about killing me. I feel so sad. I am alone and feel so alone now. I have friends and they have helped me, but it doesn't help me at night. I slept with my little dog every night. I just wanted to share my story. I prayed that I heal someday. I am a highly emotional person anyway. So sorry for that redundancy, but this is a wonderful little tribute from Susan to Tupelo. And, so we want to, give, some support out to Susan, you know,
Yeah, and she says she's a highly emotional person. I think that's a good thing. People should be highly emotional, I think.
yes.
It's a
And
it's a
I,
good thing to be engaged that way. And I mean, I she says it. I want to say that because sometimes people say that and they feel like it's a bad thing. And
it's
we
not a
we
bad
need
thing.
we need emotions. We need more
Yes, we
love in the
do.
world, you know?
It's not a bad thing at all, Susan. And look, she was your child. She was your baby,
Mhm.
and there was a beautiful picture that she sent. And, she she was her confidant and her comrade and her friend. I mean, she was alone with her. And it gets very stressful. I mean, when we don't have the monies to be able to take care of our animals, I mean, things happen. And she lost her job and then she got a little job. And luckily, they were very accommodating for
Yeah,
her to bring this little dog in,
yeah,
to work. Um, and that was very special for her, you know.
yeah. I mean, she put together a little sling
I
to
know.
carry her in. I can just see that because I
Yeah.
had 2, I
Yeah,
think
you had
4
trouble.
little chihuahuas at one point, and she describes this decline in health and functioning and ultimately a interest in food and drinking that is so typical of the very end
And right,
stage. And so it sounds like she made the decision to end her suffering and that was really the right thing and a gift
it
to
was
Tupelo.
exactly, exactly, because Tupelo, once they get blind, like she said, and deaf, she kind of lost interest in things, and she got very scared. I mean, like I said, our Jackie is 16, and I don't know if he's really completely deaf, but he certainly is somewhat blind.
Mm,
And
mhm,
when we move around the house, as soon as he doesn't feel us, or and have this thought of or feeling that we're around. If he doesn't get that, then he starts to bark.
mm,
And so, we have to remember to kind of bring him places, like if we go into a different room, or we go upstairs or downstairs, that he is, he knows that we're around. We can take him up and downstairs and so forth. Because I think that with their faculties, their vulnerabilities, and they get really scared.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like if you can't orient, you can't see, you can't hear, and it sounds like one of the things that Susan did was she would make sure that Tupelo was close enough that she could smell her, that she knew that
Yeah,
he
right.
was present, because that's their primary sense in many ways. And we have to be really aware that if they've lost their vision and their hearing, they've still got that. They've still got their ability to smell, and that's
No,
really
right.
important to them.
And Susan was a wonderful pet parent. I
Yep.
mean, she did everything she could to make those last days that Tupelo had wonderful.
Yep.
And that and it's, they are dependent on us. They're always dependent on us. But
Absolutely. They're
but as
completely
they get
dependent.
elderly, it does increase.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
she says, "I pray that I heal someday."
Yeah.
I think she's healing. It
Yeah.
sounds like she's healing. And writing this down and sharing it is one of the ways that often will help people to heal. Even if you don't share it, if you write it, write down how you're feeling, at least it gets it outside yourself, and you can take a look at what you wrote, and you can keep it as a way to remember how much Tupelo or your pet meant to you. And so it's never a bad idea to write something. Some people will write letters to their pet.
Yes,
These
that
kinds of
really is
rituals are
helpful.
helpful.
And
It's very
please, I mean, sharing it with us. I mean, I think that that's
absolutely.
been really, really important and soothing for people to be able to send us all of their thoughts and feelings and what happened. And then when we share it, it helps so many other people
It
too.
always helps other people. That's one of the things we hear. We
Yeah,
get in the messages all the time that in fact certain of these conversations will have special relevance for certain listeners because their story is close
very
in terms
similar.
of the kind of animal who was lost or the circumstances. So it's really helpful when people hear. It's one of the ways that group sessions are so
Yeah,
helpful because people can identify, and that makes you understand that you're not alone, you're not losing it,
you're not
you're going through
crazy.
something, you're right, you're going through something that human beings go through. It's just normal, and it really means that you're loving and connecting and highly emotional. I'm going to use
Yes,
that.
and that's okay, right?
I wish more people in this world
Be
were
highly
highly emotional.
emotional, or yes, and have a lot of empathy. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way, right?
yeah. So I guess we'll stop there for this evening, Nancy. It's always a
Always
pleasure
a
to talk
pleasure.
with you, and it's always a pleasure and a privilege to hear from people who share their stories with us.
Yes, we want to really thank you because it's not always the easiest thing to do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
take care, everyone.